Okay, this is July 13th, and I just want to do another kind of an update video on Haven. It's been a little bit of time since I've done that last video, and there's been some price movement in the meantime. Nothing significant, but the price nonetheless has been kind of moving around. So I want to look at it and just cover, my current thoughts on what they're doing. I do hold Haven, so I am following it closely. So this isn't going to be just a Haven channel. I do want to cover other stuff, but because I am closely monitoring this coin and just I haven't got around to making any other videos. I do want to just touch base on Haven again. Eventually I will put some other coin videos out there, other coins that catch my attention along with other stuff. There were a couple articles that came out recently that I think are pretty significant though. Before we look at the price, we had this article here talking about how USDC, or one address with USDC was blocked at the request of law enforcement. So USDC, obviously a stable coin, and this is actually, we'll look at this other article here. So this was the first article I saw, but then the second one here dives a little bit deeper into some of the issues surrounding this. And this is particularly why Haven is important, is this exact reason why right here. I mean, it's one of many different reasons, but this article goes on to say that a USDC issuer blacklisted a transaction. Now keep this in mind. If you are using USDC or Tether or any other stablecoin, you are at risk of this type of an issue happening. And that is exactly why you want to be, everybody should be excited about Haven, because this cannot happen on the XUSD. It will be completely anonymous. There's no way for them to seize your funds or track your funds or block your address. They don't even know your funds exist. They don't know that address even exists or that it is associated with you or how much money is associated with that wallet. None of that information is available. And that is exactly why this coin is so powerful, in my opinion. This has never been done before in crypto. This is the first time that we'll have this ability, and this will, in my opinion, complete the offering for what cryptocurrencies can be for the average person around the world. The ability to engage in finance and not have a third party or a central bank or a government meddling in our affairs. So this article actually goes on to talk about DAI. It says that the fact that USDC had an address blacklisted, it was an address holding about $100,000. I mean, that's no small chunk of change that whoever owns this can no longer access. So they make a good point here when they say suddenly MakerDAO's DAI doesn't seem so decentralized, because they're talking about back in March here that the community decided to have a chunk of its peg to the dollar collateralized by USDC, which we now saw that Center, the company behind USDC, has blacklisted at a request of law enforcement. So I mean, if this can happen on USDC, we've seen it happen on Tether. There's been 39 addresses on Tether worth millions of dollars, that have been blacklisted. And so this article, it makes some pretty important points that I hope that people really start to pay attention to, because this is the reason for Haven Protocol. And this is a very important development in cryptocurrency and blockchain altogether. I mean, this article goes on to say that Center reserves the right to block the transfer of USDC. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, may as well just put your money into fiat dollars. It's just as safe. Just put it in the bank and trust your bank with your money, because it's going to be the same thing. And then down here it says Michael Anderson of DeFi Venture Fund Framework Ventures says that this highlights that when you have a central entity, anything can be stopped because they can freeze those assets. So he says he's instead invested in synthetics, which he claims is more decentralized, and so that there's no central authority that can meddle in your affairs and do this type of stuff. One extra added benefit to Haven is that it's decentralized and it's anonymous and private. So that's a huge advantage there that we haven't seen in any of these other DeFi coins. And there's another good point here, which says if there's one takeaway, I think the whole incident highlights the continued global need for Bitcoin. It says Bitcoin remains volatile, but at the end of the day, it remains the best tool for unseizable, unstoppable value transfer. So essentially saying that, and of course it goes on to say that's if you keep it away from centralized exchanges. Well, there's other crypto that can do the same thing. So maybe Bitcoin isn't the best tool, but how are you going to protect that volatility from eating up your equity? And this is what Haven can do. Another article that really caught my attention, and these all came out at like the same time, and it's amazing because they're all basically advertisements for Haven and why people need to be in getting involved in Haven and using the Haven protocol. Where this article says from Mike Novogratz, he says hold more gold than Bitcoin for now. Well, how are you going to do that? You sell your Bitcoin and then buy gold and then have to go back and forth? When Haven gets all of their assets online, you'll be able to do that right from your wallet. And it will make it easy to transfer back and forth between Bitcoin and gold and the stable value of the dollar or the euro or whatever. So one other article that I really caught my interest was making a comment here halfway down the article about compound users borrow their own supply essentially. And I made this comment last time about how this whole DeFi thing is a little wonky if you ask me. Like the only thing that people are using this DeFi for now, I mean, it's almost like it's as big a craze as the ICO craze. And when you just start to pull away the layers, you look at, well, there's nothing really going on. You have people, lending money and then turning around. This article is saying they're borrowing the money that they just lent because they get interest on that, and then they take that money and they loan it out again, and then they reborrow it. And if you do it up to 4 times, you get like 4 times leverage. That's a shell game, right? There's nothing going on there, but people are trying to use arbitrage to take advantage of extra interest rates and all this kind of stuff. It's a shell game. There's nothing going on. There's no benefits to this. Now, eventually, when people start using these types of platforms for real purposes, then that will be something worth noting, I think. But in the meantime, if people are just doing this kind of stuff, it's nothing to get excited about. It's nothing just to like put a lot of money into because, like I said, there's nothing going on there. Whereas with Haven, it will actually serve a legitimate purpose, because people can use that. They can transfer into a private stable coin from within their own wallet, not have to use an exchange, have the benefits of being anonymous. So I think Haven stands above everything else in this area for right now and is flying largely under the radar. So if we look at the chart, I originally drew this little box right here. This was back on one of these days I made this video. Actually, it may have been back here. I can't remember. And I just contained this price movement in this little box, and I said we're in this range and we'll probably stay kind of in this area. I favor a breakout to the upside, but we could easily break down. And that's what happened on July 7th. We broke down right here. And so really all I did is just readjust this box because in all fairness, we can go down as low as here. And that's fair game because we've got this area down here that was a strong resistance that should be a support. So if price comes all the way down here, that's still acceptable. It didn't. It got some heavy interest in buying right here. So let's move this up just a little bit. Maybe this is our level right here, this little point. Okay, this little high that was made on June 21st. And somewhere in that area, it's like $1.50. So people are putting in buy orders, heavy buy orders right here. So what happened? We came down here, huge sell-off, and we started getting bought back up all the way up. And depending on how you want to look at this upper level, whether you use these highs or whether you use the daily close, this is a daily chart. If we look at the daily, we had a new high for a closed candle on the daily, and that's pretty significant. It's not strong enough to guarantee that this is the big breakout. So it may be that we just move this up to the high, and that's about right in this area where it contained the price. And then we had a big sell-off here. So it wasn't quite the big move. But I think that this price is being taken advantage of right now by traders, and mainly that's what's going on. Keep in mind that Haven is a low volume coin. What that means is that if somebody wants to come in with a bigger position, buying or selling, it's going to create some major moves in the market. And it's going to be common to see these big sell-offs or these big moves up, in one way or the other, like this right here. Price sold off way down here, and then immediately, now we're way back up here. This is kind of difficult to trade unless you're doing small amounts. Larger amounts are going to move the market substantially. So my bias on this coin stays the same. This is unbelievably undervalued. Is it the best coin right now out there? Does it offer the biggest return? I have no idea. But one of the things that I'm excited about is the overall usefulness of the platform. To be able to go back and forth into a stable coin that's totally private and anonymous, And so that's why I'm involved with it, aside from the profit potential. Now let's throw some pivot points on here. I like to use these just to help me get an idea of maybe where price will go in the future. So if price breaks out of this range that we're trading in, and enough people come in that want to buy this up, I mean, it's going to, in my opinion, spike up pretty substantially without, there's going to be nothing here to keep it from moving up. Hardly anybody is selling right now. So if, you have something like this, that's probably done by just a few people dumping their coins. When enough people want to buy, you need a lot of people that want to sell. You may get some of that, but if enough kind of FOMO comes in, there's not going to be enough sellers, so the price is going to go way up. We could easily just pass right through R5, and we may get some selling pressure up here. That's around $6.50. I would actually maybe go a little bit further and just mark off an area up here, maybe as high as $10. $10 might be a good psychological level that people might want to push the price up to and then look to take profits. So if we get a breakout in the next month, this would be kind of my target for an immediate profit taking area. But I wouldn't, this is not how I trade this stuff, and I'm not trading Haven, by the way, right now. I'm holding it for a longer term because I see potential way past $10. I see potential, up here, possibly triple digits would be pretty easily, if not a lot more than that, in the coming months or year or two. So it just makes sense to hold it, not try and waste your time trading this stuff, because you usually end up, if you get a good price like you have down here, or even better if you got down here, you do better by just holding it long term anyways, and just being patient. That's how I'm managing this coin. And there is a possibility at some point I may change my strategy and decide that, hey, I need to start managing this with more of a trader's perspective now. And if that happens, I'll just make some updates accordingly. But as of right now, I'm just going to continue to monitor. I'll put updates out whenever I see the price doing something and kind of just give my opinion on what I think the chart is telling me. But for right now, I'm holding for at least this level and probably beyond, far beyond that. I mean, by the time we get up to this level, these pivot points will have changed. And they're surprisingly accurate a lot of times. If we look over here, one of my other favorite coins just made a big breakout, Chainlink. And what we see here is we had this big move up, and where did it stop? Oh, right here at resistance 5. So if you get enough movement, this is a good target. I mean, it doesn't always go up there, but if you get enough momentum behind you, a lot of times this resistance 5 level is kind of the peak of where you go. Now, sometimes you go way beyond that, and I don't play games with Chainlink. Now, you don't want to be underestimating Chainlink and where it goes. So I would not be looking to take profits necessarily using a strategy like this. I would turn these right off and just not pay attention to them under most circumstances, because Chainlink tends to defy gravity quite a bit. So I will be continuing to monitor Haven. I will be looking, hopefully in the near future, I'll be getting time to put out videos with some other coins that I think are pretty interesting too. And we'll see where all this goes, and hopefully we'll get a breakout soon and something exciting to talk about here. If we don't, that's fine too, because we can just scoop up some more when it comes down here. Anyways, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll see you again in the next video.